Hey, what's up guys? I'm Night Jester and please watch my video. With the recent PSN outage, I've decided to post this video. I wanted to talk about some things, and I get 44 kills in gun games, so let's watch. In this game, I really wasn't going for a lot of kills, I just happened to get a lot. Everything just happened to be right, I guess, with my opponents being the way they were, the lag, and the planets aligning properly. I was a little surprised I didn't kill that guy, but whatever. So let me talk a little bit about the great debate, the great console war that's been raging for quite some time now. The war that you and I have both been drafted into, whether we like it or not. And I say you and I because I assume the two people watching this video also play on console. I could be wrong, whatever. But this war is basically which console is better, the PS3 or the Xbox 360. And of course we have to have this great war because perish the thought that two superpowers can coexist peacefully. Yeah, I knew that guy was gonna knife me. And I just know with this PSN outage, this epic PSN outage, that there are just 360 users all over the world just rolling on the ground laughing and calling us PS3 users idiots. And that's where the subject of being drafted into the war that I didn't choose to be in comes into play. Like, sorry, I'm a PS3 user. My bad. I didn't mean to offend you and upset you, 360 users. I've actually owned a 360 and I had a blast with it. It's a great system. I came in kind of late to the 360 scene because the first next generation console I purchased was, well, now current generation console I purchased was the PS3, not the 360. But the main reason I didn't purchase the 360 almost immediately and I kind of waited on it was because of all these horror stories of the Red Ring of Death I had heard about. By the way, they're not just like some urban legend because everybody I've known that has owned a 360 has had it fail on them at least once. Some people twice. Yes, that's right. They have purchased the system 3 times, and I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying what happened. Those are the facts. So do with it what you will. Like, not being a PS3 fanboy, not being anything. I'm just saying, like, if you have a glaring flaw, like if you're a pretty girl but you have like horrible teeth, you just have to admit it. You have to be like, well, there are good points about me, but when I smile, I tend to make people vomit. I'm just asking you to admit that they've used your teeth in anti-methamphetamine commercials. But anyways, when I bought the console, it was good timing. They had just secretly released the Jasper model, which I was confident that they probably hadn't solved the problems of the Red Ring of Death, but they had made them less pervasive, so maybe I got lucky and maybe my console would last forever. Not that it mattered, but I did sell it to someone that I care if it fails on them. And the arcade model, by the way, didn't come with a hard drive, so there was this special promotion going on. I got a small hard drive and like 3 months free of Microsoft Online, which was pretty cool. And I went down to GameStop, bought like Perfect Dark for like $8 used. It was just like economically, it was a great system to have. I sold it simply because I already had a PS3 and I just couldn't justify the exclusives for the 360 as to me keeping the 360. Like, they weren't so mind-blowing that I was like, well, if I don't have these exclusive 360 games, then I won't be happy as a gamer, I guess. So I sold it, but I'd like to go over some positive points of it. Like I said before, it's a fun gaming machine. Like, it feels like just a fun gaming device, which any game console should. It feels a little more fun than the PS3 sometimes, which is kind of hard to explain because it's a mentality and they both play similar games, but the 360 overall feels just a little more fun. And even though you have to pay for the online is better than the PSN, I'll give it that. Like, as far as matchmaking and partying up and all sorts of things, it's a little more streamlined, I guess. And I'll admit I don't know everything about the 360 online experience. I'm very ignorant when it comes to that. I'm just trying to point out some positives. Yes, I forgot to mention that the graphics are better for the most part on the 360. The textures seem to pop a little bit more. The colors are more vibrant. PS3 seems a little muted in colors sometimes. Oh yeah, I just got 44 kills. I'm done with that. So let's hop on over to this 25-0 match on Stadium. team deathmatch. I'm playing with my good friends Night Angel and Jizz McSkeet. Subliminal Psycho is not to be found in this one. Anyways, I think I've sucked up enough to the Xbox 360 community, so it's time to talk about my PS3 and why I like that. Long story short, I had the YLOD, which is similar to the RROD, but not as prolific, I guess. It's kind of like when you go to Whataburger and you're like, hey, can you supersize me? And they're like, no, you dumb fuck, it's Whata-size me here. Yeah, it's kind of like that. My PS3 that failed on me was a 40 gigabyte edition, which is like the third model, or I guess because they first released like the 80 gigabyte and the 60 gigabyte, which were both backwards compatible. And then they released the 40 gigabyte where they removed it, and yeah, you know, there was a huge uproar and whatnot. Whatever. But I also think they dropped the price, or I remember them dropping the price. So it's like you could buy a PS2, one of those little bitty PS2s, for the amount of money that you save. So I don't know why everyone was complaining. And here we go again. It's all about timing. They dropped the price of the PS3. I could barely afford it when I bought it. You know, it almost wiped out my bank account. Not that it mattered at the time. And I could only afford one game, Elder Scrolls Oblivion. I was like, well, that should eat up most of my time. Turns out it didn't, because I'm like as much as I want to get into games like that, I never can immerse myself so much that I play for hours upon hours. I wish I could, but I can't. Another major reason, actually, that I bought the PS3 was because that's when I started working at Best Buy, and that's also when I first realized how inexpensive HDMI cables were in reality and how overpriced they are in stores. Because I was like, so I'm going to buy this $300 or $400 system, and then I have to buy these $80 to $100 cables and $50 game, and I was like, that's just way too much. But when I realized that, hey, employee price $7 for these $80 cables, yeah, I was on board. And it's the hilarious part is, like, the base price of HDMI cables hasn't really changed that much. You know, maybe changed a couple of dollars at the most, because if you could get them that cheap back then, and nowadays I can get them for like $4 online, you know, depending on the length, but that's still not that big of a difference, you know, from like 3 years ago. I always veer off subject, but luckily I always happen to veer back on the subject, so here we are, back on the subject. Yeah, my Yellow Live Death, or whatever it is, I fixed it like 2 or 3 times, and all the times they didn't last that long, maybe a couple weeks at the latest, or at the most. And I could tell that the graphics chip was pretty effed up, like certain textures were missing and whatnot. So I ultimately got the Slim Edition. I think it's the first model that came out of the Slim Edition. It's the 45 nanometer processor, and it has an upgraded fan, I think, so I'm pretty confident that it won't fail on me. It is kind of noisy though. It seems to read from the disc more than the last PS3, and it's not shiny and a finger. What the fuck was that? I live in Texas, but jeez. Okay, yeah, it's not a fingerprint magnet, so I guess that upsets people. Night Angel, cough, but whatever. And my apologies, you have to sit through me trying to call my chopper gunner in vain, but I need some video while I talk, I suppose. And the major reason I prefer the PS3 over the 360 is that it just feels like a more adult experience, a little more professional, sleeker, I guess. And with that, it does lose some of its fun. Like I mentioned earlier, the 360 does seem a little more fun sometimes, but I'm okay with it. Also, I was pretty sold on Blu-rays. I like the idea of not having multiple DVD games. And working at Best Buy, I was on the front lines of the format war. You know, Blu-ray versus HD DVD. I knew Blu-ray would win, or I was kind of hoping, you know, crossing my fingers at the porn industry backing it. So Blu-ray did win, and thousands of HD DVD users wept and threw their HD DVDs into their closet next to their giant laser discs and hula hoops. As always, thanks for watching if you did, and at the risk of sounding like a peace-loving hippie, let's stop all this fussing and feuding, and you know, with the PSN being down, as a gamer, 360 users, you should be sympathetic towards us PS3 users for not being able to play online right now. So, yeah.